The weekly wave. Oh, I can't spell the nose. The weekly wave. Oh, can you tell me who? The weekly wave. Did you see it? The weekly wave. I'm glad you stopped by. Take him to him, baby. Take him up again. Oh, can you tell me who? The weekly wave. Yeah. The weekly wave. Did you ever know? The weekly wave. Booty clack clack. Jake Burns, brother. What's going on?
Yeehaw, what's up, dude?
Thanks for making the time. Welcome home again, brother.
Yes, we're doing it. Getting a little Cincy time in.
How many Cincy shows did you have this week? Was it like an Ohio run for the weekend, or?
Yeah, we did. We had like a Dayton show. We did Madison Live, which I give.
I would restart it. The desktop audio was muted.
The desktop audio.
For the intro music, I don't think it'll come through if the desktop audio is muted, right?
No, you should be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're leaving it in. They gotta know. They gotta know.
Let me give you a new intro song.
Okay.
Weekly Wave. Oh man, just found my new side project.
Honestly, it might be you could put that through like a pitch shift and really play some crazy shit, but it take a lot of awareness to like know your center note.
It's gonna be great.
That could be baller. Honestly, someone could play it like a slide in some ways. Let me reduce this a little bit, get a little bit more of that sweet top end. Yeah, brother. So tell me about the weekend of shows.
We opened up for Tropidelic up near Dayton, JD Legends.
Nice.
Which is a sweet venue.
Like the outside sand pit?
Yeah.
Dude, it's quite the complex. They have like bowling alleys and like a nice restaurant, and then they have the outdoor like 1,500 cap. How big is it?
I would say that much for sure. But
Close to sold out? How filled was it?
No, I mean it was probably, I don't know actually. But it was still a rockin' show, man. You know, they have a great light show and big LED screen on the back. So it's
That's
like
awesome.
Especially getting photos there, you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
But that was dope. We did Madison Live with the Quasi Kings, which I pretty much consider that Cincinnati, you know. It's
Yeah.
Covington, but
That's hometown flavor.
that's hometown.
Yeah, and you just had that song out with the Quasi Kings, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Last straw. Shout out Quasi.
So whose set did that fall in for the weekend?
Honestly, we played that all weekend long, but because we played with them on Friday, you know, they were able to come out and do their verse. But
Nice. But they came out during your set and did their verse.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So that was sweet. And then we went up and played Sunny Days, which is a music festival up at Nelson Ledges, just outside of Cleveland. That's like Tropidelic's spring festival, and that was raging. I mean, I think there's guessing probably like 2,000 to 3,000 people there. Like,
Hell yeah.
it was fun. Oh yeah, all camping. This place, it's funny. We had so much sand this past weekend. Like, main stage is here, and like off to your right, it's like a big sandy beach, and there's a lake, and so people can like go swimming. There's cliff jumping. Like, it's a pretty rad spot.
That's gnarly.
But we had a lot of fun at that, and then yeah, we're heading over to Pennsylvania and actually have some more Ohio stuff this next weekend. So booked some solo shows at some local schmokel spots. I know we jammed Monday night. So
Yeah, dude, thanks for doing the music. It made me so happy because I had booked out that month for the feature yet, and you reached out. I was like, that sounds delightful. I'm just glad you're home for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then working out with Kevin Fox, it's like, I really like that if people are coming from out of town, there's a Monday Songwriters Night, there's a Tuesday Songwriters Night, there's a couple of open mics on Wednesdays that do a feature, there's Crooner Circus on Thursdays. So, like, Cincinnati is starting to have a place for somebody every night of the week, which is just like, it's a confidence in what's going on.
Yeah.
How's the Asheville scene been?
Dude, Asheville's great, man. I love Asheville.
How many years you lived there now?
It's been just over 5 years.
Cool.
And honestly, like, originally moving down there, I thought it was kind of going to be a stepping stone. Be there for a couple years until I figure out what's next. But, 5 years later, here I am, dude. And It's awesome. Like it's a small city, but I still haven't done like everything. I haven't been to all the restaurants. I haven't done all the hikes. Like the music scene is thriving down there. I mean,
Dude, what was that show you sent me to on the way out of town a couple weeks ago? Back in February.
Monday mashup at One World. Yeah.
That shit was heavy. That trombone player that leads that section, he had a crazy pedal board set up. He sang lead on a couple tunes. It was gnarly.
Yeah, dude, that thing slaps in Asheville. If you're looking for something to do on Monday night in Asheville, like that is literally the thing to do. I mean, you know, it's probably 140 cap club, and we hit capacity like multiple times throughout the night. Like,
and there's some good dancing going on. Like there was like easily like an 80-year-old man I saw come in, and he changed his shoes and he hit the dance floor, and he got the fuck down. Like it was awesome.
Dude, that's another thing about Asheville, man, is like there's such a good live music community as far as like just concert goers and show goers. I mean, some of these people, I'll see them out every night of the week at music events, like anything from raging rock shows to like singer-songwriter nights. There's just a ton of people in Asheville that appreciate live music and appreciate original music. I mean, like that was kind of a semi-new thing for me, because you know, you play a lot of the solo circuit in Cincinnati, and you know, you get to sprinkle your original music in there, but you know, you're filling these 3-4 hour time slots, so you gotta fill it with like covers, and a lot of times people want to hear these familiar songs, which is great because, you know, do what you do. Like I was doing the same thing up here for a long time, and then originally when I moved down there, I started booking gigs, and I was playing sets like that, and I wasn't getting the same reaction as I was up here, and I was like, strange. And I just come to realize that Asheville is just so much more receptive to original music. I mean, like people down there would much rather hear you play, you know, 80% original music during your sets than, you know, any covers for the most part. And took some time to you know, get into that groove. But now that I know that's a thing, man, I mean, most of my solo sets are just pushing original songs, which is fun.
Well, it's cool to hear you on Monday night, because I felt like some of those more just singer-songwriter-esque tunes get to come out, and like they're not filler in a set, but because you have these 2-hour slots, 3-hour slots where you're like, I'd rather play my stuff than come in and play a cover tune, you start to kind of grab things you learn from those songs and reincorporate and find your own way of doing it. And it opens us up to more of like, you know, here's what Jake Burns contributes to Rockstead, but here's more just who Jake Burns is. It's a separate part of your musical entity, you know?
Definitely, man. And, you know, also just moving to a different region and having a completely different style of music be, you know, more prominent. It forced me to listen to it, you know, because before, like, sure, I knew some singer-songwriters and acoustic music. Like, I've always been into, like, Jack Johnson and stuff like that. But as far as, like, folk stuff and even more, like, country and bluegrassy kind of sounding things, I used to roll my eyes at it just because I was such a metalhead and, like, punk rock and, like, you know, all the screamo, Warped Tour vibes. Like, that was my bread and butter growing up. And so I kind of didn't give it a chance. I was kind of stubborn as far as my music taste went. But
you grew up going to some heavy shows, right? Like I remember you telling me a story about like some show you went to for your birthday with your mom at like 11. Like maybe it was like Slipknot or something.
It was
like that.
Disturbed.
Dude, that's awesome. I saw a hilarious meme the other day of the lead singer from Disturbed on like a dating profile. And like it was like the most heavy, least heavy thing I've ever seen, you know what I mean?
That's hilarious. He's probably just like, what's your favorite restaurant?
Could you imagine going on a first date with a guy who has like a bracelet's worth of metal in his soul patch? Like it's the coolest thing you've ever seen. But like it looks crazy, dog. Like
yeah, dude, I don't know. That was a wild time, dude. There's some characters out there in that scene, kind of the new metal and like all that shit, dude. But
yeah, new metal's definitely different. Like it's response to like the heavy world of hip hop, and people just wanted to get involved in that. Versus, I feel like the general style now is much more hip hop influenced. It's like those rhythms that made something like new metal so discernible is now just like they're doing it in country at this point. You know, it's like it's the same reaction. It's just 10 years later.
Yep, dude. Shit evolves, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
But-
it's weird to see like the way that country music is right now dominating on charts. Like I looked at Billboard the other day, just look at Billboard. It's like Morgan Wallen's got like 7 songs in there right now. Like that's absurd.
Yeah. Well, that's the internet too, man. You know, like you can find, you know, these old songs that just get put on the right TikTok video and research. Like what was the cranberry juice skateboarder dude with Dreams? You know, he freaking had Fleetwood Mac on his video, and next thing you know, Dreams is like #1 on the Billboard again because everyone's like, this song's great because it's my favorite TikTok video, you know? Like,
Yeah, I wonder how much traffic really does just, you know, out of nowhere kind of reattract a song. Or some of these like hidden gems are getting discovered for the first time, or like Just the Two of Us is one of those classics that's just been reignited in like the pop culture world. So you can play that on a cover gig and people eat that shit up again for some reason.
oh yeah. Well, it's like also just like timeless music, you know? It's like there's a lot of music from that era, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s that just will probably live forever, you know, like no matter what. And
Yeah.
there's also a lot of music made today that will not live forever, and it's probably a good thing.
For sure. And sometimes like we all gotta have that concern of ending up in that pile. It's like, yeah, you should I'm starting to realize, especially in the production world, like path of least resistance is probably my best call. Like let's not get too complicated here. If I'm trying to save money, be quick, I gotta be able to just accept certain things and move forward with it. It's like you don't want to have glaring mistakes that you have to look back on 15 years from now and wonder like, is that the reason like this didn't work or that didn't work or I don't work, you know?
Yeah, man. Writing songs, there's a lot to think about going into it, man. But
What's your production style like, you know, before and after it hits the band?
you mean just as far as writing?
Yeah, when I guess delivering songs to the band and reinterpreting the music like that.
Yeah, a lot of times I'm just recording mostly acoustic demos at my house. I mean, you know, I write a lot of songs with my acoustic guitar. I'll just set up simple, you know, I got a simple little home recording setup. And, you know, I'd say like over half of the songs I generally send them are just,
It's that Rona.
it's that Rona, dude. It's doing me right.
You need
Actually,
that bottle.
I'll take the other bottle opener.
Where the hell we put? There it is.
There we go. But
God damn it.
I'd say over half the songs I send them are mostly just like vocals and acoustic guitar. But
Full songs though.
yeah, full songs. You know, occasionally I'll have a song where like I have a very specific person in mind for a like a feature, and I'll be like, I'm leaving this verse open because I really want to reach out to this person and have them do a feature verse. But you know, sometimes I sit down and I indulge a little more in like, you know, I'll write bass lines, I'll write lead lines, I'll put keys parts, I got vocal harmonies. I just recently, they were always missing drums but I just recently picked up like Easy Drummer or some like simple program so I can start to you know, put all that in there. But a lot of times I'm sending these guys these demos and I'm kind of just like, and you know, I got a whole demo folder online and I basically say, go through, tell me what your favorites are, you know, which ones do you like the most, and then, you know, I'll make those priority, at least on my end, to start experimenting with, and also, you know, try to come up with your own parts. So
Yeah, that's a really cool thing to have like this, you know, it's a gateway into whatever you're thinking at that point in time. It's like you can probably tell very discernible chapters of your life through this book of just loose ideas. In the same way, like when you scroll through your voice memos, like you kind of remember what's going on in your life. Shit's kind of weird in certain sections of it.
yeah.
How much does like the, you know, the changing lineups and whatnot affect what kind of songs come out? Like has the sound stayed the same through most of the lineup changes?
From my end, I'd say yes. As far as like song content and stuff like that, because most of that is just based off of my personal experiences. But I mean, as far as the musicality, it definitely changes because we've been through different bass players, we've been through a lot of different lead guitar players, unfortunately, but
they're tough roles to maintain, man. And I think like we all experience flux. It's just whether your band can tolerate going through those ruts of super tight reconstructing. Like you've managed that for how long? A decade of your life now?
Just about 10 years, man. 9 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Rockstead's been around.
Because you had one like name change early on in the band, right?
You mean the band's name?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, we had a band called Broken on Impact in high school.
Cool.
It was just a 3-piece. And then after high school, we recruited another guitar player and kind of started writing different music, which is when we became Rockstead. So it was like the same 3-piece guys, but with another guy. But we started doing something completely different. So we but that was when we were dubbed Rockstead. So we've been Rockstead since then. But members through the years, the original guys were, setting the bar at the beginning because we did all the groundwork, getting in the scene, making it known, like starting to play festivals.
Finding those first couple tunes that really do hit and bring people back to your shows too.
Totally, yeah. And we were playing college parties galore. I mean, I was going to OU, Ohio University, tons of fests out there. Like they do all these different fests during the spring. We'd play a bunch of those, front yards, backyards, living rooms, like. And then our drummer at the time went to Wittenberg College in Springfield, and we were playing tons of college parties out there. They actually had this thing called Wit Fest, which was like a little music festival they put on. We would play that. So it was just like college stuff for a long time, and it was fun, dude.
Yeah, what's your strangest setup memory? What's your favorite weird performance space for a college?
Dude, honestly, I just remember being in Wittenberg and being set up in this living room, like the corner of this living room. We had this place like packed shoulder to shoulder. People were like climbing in through the windows. Like there's people outside like watching us through the windows. People were climbing in through the windows. People were crowd surfing through this living room, like knocking over the PAs and spilling beer on our shit. And we're just like, trying to keep everything together, but also like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Did you love that chaos?
Remember.
Like that?
Hell yeah, I love that chaos. I miss that shit.
Really? And we put a lot of money into PA and equipment and whatnot, and like that puts my anxiety through the roof. Like I have to be really inebriated and not be thinking about the guy spilling stuff on my equipment. You know?
Yeah. I would not want to do that now.
Yeah.
But like that was the thing. That's what I miss about those days. Is like we didn't like care as much. I mean, we were still like doing good. We cared about like progressing forward and stuff like that, but as far as like we would be tipsy playing, and like I said, we were kind of sloppy, but it didn't matter because it was awesome. Everybody was having fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, also we had stuff. We weren't taking care of our gear probably as much as we should have, but it wasn't about. That's what I miss about those days. It wasn't so much about like the business and the expensive stuff and like you're worried about like numbers and selling tickets and all this stuff. Back then it was just like, how can we throw the most raging party and get these people hype as shit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
how do we do something that's just so much fun that people need to be involved with it?
Yeah. But it was fun, man. I miss those days a little bit.
I had one Halloween while I was at Xavier that they wanted us to play in like a concrete shotgun style basement. So like you come down the steps, there's like a corner in this concrete room where we set up, and then it just drops down to like, there's really only enough space for like 20 people down there. Maybe they had 50, so it just feels gross. Then my buddy Xavier, he's like 6'5", and he's wearing a gorilla suit, and he's throwing bananas at people. And I'm dressed as Rey Mysterio. I had like my childhood Rey Mysterio outfit that I got off the WWE shop. Like this was like way too small for an adult man who's hammered, and I tore straight through the pants. And I was like, very fond memories, but I'm glad there's no videos of me playing this set.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, there's some past ones where I'm like, I'm glad that's just logged in my head.
Yeah.
But dude, I remember this place at OU. I don't even know if it still exists, honestly, but it was called the Spacement. And it was just a house that people would rent. It was just a normal student house. And but the basement, they turned into this little music venue. And it was called the Spacement. Like, it was like a legit venue as far as the students were concerned. And it's like, if you rented from that house, like, you knew you were taking on the responsibility of, like, carrying on this fucking legacy of the Spacement.
How long had it been going on, do you?
I have no idea, but it was already a thing when I got there for sure. And anyway, we played a few shows down there, but I remember one where it was kind of like you said. It was like maybe you could fit 40 people in there, and there was like 70. And it's just like you're jamming. It's a concrete basement, you know, like sound probably sucks ass.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter because everyone's going nuts. There's so many people in that basement, like breathing hard and heavy, that like the walls were like perspiring. Like literally the walls were like wet just from all these people like breathing and sweating. And I remember it was like dripping, and we were just like, this is insane. Like, what is even happening right now?
Dude, that's so funky and like and wrong but right, but like concrete perspiring and just like too many people down there. Dude, one time I played at a house, I think by Bowling Green, and this was like one of the coolest production things I've ever gotten to experience. It was like a 70s projector with like one of those classic like light bulbs underneath that goes up and then goes out. And this guy had like a very small beveled dish that he was pouring like oil paints into. So he was doing all the colors that way, and then he would like mix it by spinning the bowl and stirring it. Every once in a while he'd wipe clean, he'd come in with a fresh palette. So it's just like this very psychedelic light show going on. It was hot as all fuck. Like it was grimy, but I was like, that's a neat call, man.
Oh yeah. That's badass, dude. And that's what I miss about those college things is like people would just get creative. Like especially at OU, there was such a like scene for these like DIY shows, and people would throw shows in their house, in their driveway, like in their basements, and there was so much of that where like it kept us busy, dude. And you know, and that's the thing about the college stuff too, is like people didn't care who was playing. They just knew there was going to be a band, and they'd show up and be like, sweet, like what's going to happen? And that was cool. I miss that shit, you know?
It's an interesting platform, too. Like, it's one thing to be a local band in that scene, you know, one of the students. It's another thing to be blessed with that in the middle of your tour. Like, I'm sure there's still occasions where, like, you know, in the same way that I do, you just send out loose emails when you see a cool place and you hope for the best. And sometimes you find the perfect room to be in that for some reason this part of the world loves you and it makes family out of you. Like, where's your best town to tour in outside of Cincy and Asheville?
Outside of Cincy and Asheville, I mean, Columbus is we definitely have like some family vibes in Columbus, just because we've been hitting Columbus for so long.
Mm-hmm. Where you play there?
Woodlands Tavern was a big one for us. We've been playing at the Summit Music Hall,
cool,
which is kind of a little newer within the past couple years, maybe.
What kind of space is that like?
It's probably like a 200 cap room. Tops, maybe a little less, but
nice.
There was this guy, Chris Salvato. He runs Weird Music. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but he used to do these Weird Wednesdays, they were called, at this place called Scarlet and Gray Cafe when I was in college. Because I remember we would drive up from OU to go to these Weird Wednesdays in Columbus. It was like an hour and 15, you know. It was a long drive, but it wasn't like forever. But it was just, you know, we were some of those people where it was like, I don't care who's there. It's this weekly event. There's always cool bands. There's cool people there. Like, we're just gonna go check it out. But since then, that bar's closed. But him and Rob, I can't remember his last name. It's the drummer for The Works.
Rob Chaffin?
Yes.
Nice.
They teamed up, and they're like the owners of the Summit now.
Nice.
So the Summit's pumping out some good shows.
I see Rob doing a lot of things for him. Just like, this dude's got to have a crazy life schedule. I never met him personally, but like the place I think I know him best for right now is the Temple Live spot up in Cleveland. There's a cat named Garrett Zimmer that I've only met him one time, but like it was one of those people you see on Instagram. You're like, okay, we're gonna be friends from now on. Like this is gonna work out. So, he had an off night from Temple Live. He came to see us. He ever played Coda up in Cleveland? Coda's a great little basement bar over in Tremont. It can probably hold 100 people at most, but it's a bumping time. So he came down there. My buddies Party Marty and the Dirtbags were in from Milwaukee. And they have
back up. Party Marty and the
Party
Dirtbags.
Marty and the Dirtbags is the name of the band name, and this only gets worse. They have a song called Two Wieners at Once, which they have told me, and I don't believe this. They said there's like 98 verses of this song if they want to go that far, and pretty much they had me and my buddy Garrett put on hot dog costumes. And then they were going to make us pretty much dance until the song was over, which I didn't know how long it could be. I was like, you're really going to make me put on the hot dog suit? Sure. I'll be a good pay. I'll get involved in this.
You're like, what verse are we on?
Dude, I was livid at the end. I was like, I can't believe I'm still in this hot dog suit. I don't know when the last time you washed this is. I got to play after this. I'm trying
Probably
to have
never,
a drink.
dude.
Yeah, dude.
Probably never.
No, I just saw him washing it the other day. And of course, there was some kind of Instagram post about the wieners. And I was like, this is epic.
That's hilarious.
But Garrett Zimmer was the other dude in the hot dog suit.
Oh, nice. You're like, we're bonded for life after
Truly,
this.
true. It is a geek. Like, we're just dancing together, having a good time. There's maybe 40 people in this bar, and all of them are watching the two losers in the hot dog costume shake some ass,
Ask me about my wiener. That's hilarious, dude.
Yeah. Dude, when's that Jonah Hill Grateful Dead documentary coming out?
Dude, I don't know. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, they must have been done filming it by now. It's like he was in that role. Like, now he's kind of retransitioned, it seems, back into regular Jonah.
Yeah. He's had a lot of transitions.
Oh, yeah, he
But
does the thing.
He looks cool in that music or in that movie.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to crush it.
It should be fun.
He's epic in my mind. Do what he wants, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just let her rip.
Yeah.
Let her rip.
Do you watch much movies? Do you watch much TV?
Not really. I mean, I don't really watch a ton of movies. I watch a little bit of TV, but
Can you slime me that?
it's pretty seldom. Usually it's just like end of the night kind of like shows. It's so funny because I can never commit to a movie. Like I'll be like, I don't want to watch a movie, but then I'll sit there and watch like 3 full episodes, like hour-long episodes of something,
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I just watched like 2 movies worth of TV, but for some reason
It's just a deep binge.
I can't commit. Like,
Yeah, I don't like the feeling of binging something. Like, it's hard to leave my own life and get invested there and then come back to the shit I have to do. It's like I'd rather just stay on the straight and narrow here. Like,
yeah.
and I believe like people that love reading, it's as good as binging, except it only ends when you finish that last page. It's like that feels like a more quality way to burn your time than binge watching something in a dark room. But I don't know why. I don't get my judgment on that.
Yeah. You're probably right, man.
It's just analog and sexy for that reason. Dude, I want a high-perched hammock, and I want to be able to read at least 50 pages in a sitting. That'll make me feel like an adult. You know what I
There
mean?
you go. I just started reading Lord of the Rings.
No shit.
Yep.
Your life's over, bro.
Dude, I'm telling you, I was like diehard about those movies growing up, but I had never read the books. And I was like, all right, I'm committing. Here I go. Because I read so much as a kid, like pretty much all through high school. I was like a huge reader, like read so many books, so many. And then I hit college and suddenly I'm like, there's so many other cool things to do besides read, mostly play shows and play guitar. Like I'd rather spend my time doing that. But in like recent months, really, I finished this book called Catch a Fire, which is like a biography on Bob Marley.
Cool.
But it was only because I went to Costa Rica and I had all this plane time and airport time, and I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't want to fuck on my phone. Like,
Yeah.
That just ruins you. Excuse me. Thanks, Corona.
Yeah, dude, I got to be more on top of that, especially when you have, however many hours to travel. I want to ask you about the logistics of that trip too, man. But
Dude, yeah. But anyway, I started reading and I was like, man, I need to make it a point to like read more. I don't even know why. I think it was more just like it'll keep me from being on my phone, or like I said, if I watch TV, it's like at the end of the night. I'm like, if I just like read a little bit before I go to bed instead of like watch TV or something, like maybe there'll be some kind of something good. Really, I think
psychological benefit.
it's just me like feeling better about myself more than anything.
Well, I think it's like it's more like personal interaction with the media. It's like just to sit there and get like visually fed and audibly fed the storyline. It's like it gets your emotions going, but it doesn't give you creative opportunities to be involved in it the way that thinking about a book does.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, that exactly. And I feel like it makes you think. You have to imagine what's happening in your head. It's getting your, I don't know what's firing in there, but something, it's a creative thing.
Yeah.
But
it's nice to learn to free your mind without stimulus. You know what I mean? Like there's some times in life where like you need to be able to think about something else. And something about picking up a book and thinking about that is training yourself for when you need to move on to the next thing. Like, do you know Devin Z. Brooks? The guy who runs Radio Artifact?
yes.
Devin gave me a quote that blew my mind a couple weeks ago where it was like, if I'm ever having a problem, I give myself the permission to move on to something else. Like if I just can't get over it, it's like, that's been some of the best advice. Like if you realize that you're hitting a dead end a couple of times, like time to put it down and walk away for a few minutes. And it's probably going to solve itself. Like you'll have a fresh approach after that. But, picking up a book and going into that makes me come back into life like, oh, there's that bullshit that I was thinking too much about. Here we go. Now we're done,
Oh my gosh. I need to remember that. Because if I can't do something, I'm like, damn it, I need to do this. I know I can do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, dude.
And then I just like work until I piss myself off and I'm like, oh, wait. And then I do get it done, but at what cost?
Yeah. I'm feeling that way about the mixing process. And like I feel like really the critical side of songwriting where it's like, it's not the first time you've touched it. It's after the third time you've played it live and you're like, this part isn't right. And it's like you got to grimace and grit through whatever that issue is, whether it's like too many syllables or shitty wording or a bad melody, whatever it's going to be. Like how much do you come back and revise songs after they've hit the stage?
Honestly, almost never. Only because I am the type of person who and my band gets so annoyed with me about this, but like I don't like to share new songs until well, it's different with my solo stuff. I guess that's a little different. But as far as like full band stuff, if we like are done with the song and we're like starting to record it, I don't like to share it too much before it's released. Mm-hmm. I'm such a stickler about that, and they're always like, dude, let's play the new ones, let's do this, and I'm just like, I always have to reel it in. I don't even know why. I just don't like I'm just a big fan of surprises, I think. And if like we were playing a song for like 6 months and then finally release it, people were like, oh yeah, I've heard that one, and so I think that might be it. But a lot of the times I'm like, it needs to be perfect. It needs to be exactly how we're going to do it and record it. So it's like there. I mean, with that being said, there's definitely some of our older songs that we play a little different. Not even because we said this needs to be different, but more so because in a live setting, somebody will just like do something and we'll be like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep doing that. Like, but as far as like writing, honestly, if I'm stuck on a part, I usually won't perform it. Like with the solo stuff, like I'll know like that line isn't right. Like I'm not even gonna sing the song until, and sometimes I'll write a whole song and then it'll be like a month later that I changed that one line. I fixed that one line and I'm like, yay, it's done.
Dude, I respect that a lot, and I definitely respect the ideal of I want the music to be out because it's done, it was ready before they hear it at all. It's like I don't want you to hear me tinkering with it. I want you to hear it produced and finished in that. But I also love eating a speed bump. You know what I mean? Like knowing that like, okay, I've bid it a couple of times here. Like, is today the day, or do I need to go home and like really work on this?
Yeah.
And if it's just like a phone note away, it's like sometimes you'll subconsciously work out issues. So, you've been fumbling over these couple words. Like, you might stop reading that and insert a word just to get over that hump because it's easier, like the path of least resistance. So sometimes I'll go back and I'll look at the original lyric sheets of songs. It's like okay, I had to retype this because a lot of shit has changed, not consciously, just because it worked better.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Like, so when I was a kid, anytime I would buy a new CD, I'd go to my room, I'd put it in the CD player, and I'd sit there with the like the pamphlet, the little CD pamphlet or whatever, and I'd sit there and I'd read the words as I listened to the whole album. I'd sit there and I'd read everything, and every once in a while, I'm catching these little. I'm like, that's not what you said. That's what's written down here, but that's not what he said, you know? And so I would catch that shit all the time. And it's funny because this is exactly what we're talking about, you know? And they probably were in the studio and were like, I'm going to say this instead.
Yeah. When sometimes you don't even think about it. You just do. It's like it is become it's, you know, it's like, or you change the tense and it's like, that's kind of an interesting aspect of it. But it's way funnier if you went through the process of being like, I'm going to type up my lyrics. They're going to look nice on this fucking pamphlet. And then they're wrong. It's like, no, you need a double check in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better about that because mine just sit on a Google Drive folder, you know, inevitably. And like, if people ask me like, have you ever had the feedback of you're a mumble mouth?
Earlier on.
Okay.
Yeah. Earlier on, I've definitely, people were like, you need to like pronunciate more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of locked that in a little within the, you know, more professional era of my music, but
Yeah.
definitely early on.
What would you say is the key to getting a lyric out?
Like of your mouth?
Well, yeah, I guess like when it comes to delivering your lyrics, so like it sounds like you spend a lot of time on your lyrics. You know, you're well crafted in that. How do you make sure certain things pop? Just like practice at home, or
definitely practicing at home, and also just like, I guess the way I write, I try to give a lot of like rhythm to the lyrics, like rhythm to the words, and so, you know, if I think about it in that manner, rather than just kind of smushing everything together all loosey-goosey, I don't know. There's that scene in School of Rock where Jack Black's like, tip of the tongue, skin of the teeth. And he's like, really like, that's kind of what it is. It's like, you know, just giving a lot of rhythm to the words and saying them really loud and making your mouth. Like even when I did like men's choir when I was in school, which I did not take that class seriously at all. I wish I would have, but I didn't.
knowing what you know now,
But-
it's like that would have been helpful.
Yeah, but regardless, you know, her whole thing was like, anytime you're saying a vowel, like really make your mouth look like that thing. And I remember that all the time. Like, she's like, if you're going to sing an O, be like, oh, don't just be like, oh. You know what I mean?
Fascinating.
Like, she used to say, like, move your mouth how, like, she's like, you're going to look silly, but you're going to nail it.
Yeah. When I feel like the shape looking like the letter, it's like, is it right? Does E look like that? Kinda, you know, in a really dumb way. So thinking about that really does kind of get it out past it. Like, do you think about your lyrics as you say them, or do you think about the delivery as you say it?
Probably more delivery.
Yeah.
At least with the songs that we've been playing for a while, because sometimes I'll be on stage singing the song and like I'll be thinking of something completely different. Like I'm like singing, like while I'm actively singing the song, I'll be like, all right, this guitar solo is coming up and I gotta make sure that I start it up on the E, on the A string, 7th fret, here we go, I'm gonna do this arpeggio, and then I'm like, and here we go, you know,
Yeah.
I'm like, so some of the words, but
But it kind of
yeah.
gets passive, you know,
Yeah,
at some point. Like
at
you're
least
just,
with the words.
yeah, you're running the thing down. Wait, and I feel like singing and playing your instrument, like one of those is active, one of those passive. There's a way of getting both of them there if you have other things to be concerned about, like sweet guitar harmonies or lead lines or whatever it's gonna be. And it's crazy to start to like, I don't know. Sometimes you feel distant from the music because you're thinking about those other things. You know, like you're concerned about other shit. You're not paying attention to what's Nate doing in the back. You know, what's going on in bassland over here. Like,
Definitely. And sometimes like I'll be singing and, you know, as I'm singing a line, I'll be like, shit, what's the next line? What's the next line? What's the next line? And then we get there and then it just comes out. And I'm like, Yay! Yeah, I did it. There it is.
We did it.
Yeah.
It's if you think what's the next line, there's 100% chance that you're not gonna know what that next line is. Like you might get lucky and your muscle memory nabs it for you, but there is something so interesting. It's like the red light syndrome, like learning to record. Like someone hits start, and your fingers just
Forget everything.
fart out. Yeah, it's just like awful.
It's funny too, because like I will mess up lyrics more than I'd like to admit of like our own songs that we've been playing for years, and we're to the point now where there's people out there that like know all the words, and so when I do flub a line,
Yeah.
There's people that recognize it. Like,
Yeah.
they'll be like, hey, that point in the show when you said this, I was like, yeah, I messed up. They're like, oh, okay. Like, we were wondering what happened there. I was like, yeah, well, yeah. Thanks for bringing it up.
How many times has that happened?
That I've messed up a line?
That someone has like openly been like, do you remember 15 minutes ago when you flubbed my favorite song?
Honestly, only a couple times. But it's mostly people that I'm pretty close to. So
Yeah.
it's not like total randos.
Totally, but it's a heavy moment of like, you're right, there was a problem there,
I'm just like, welcome to live music, baby.
The big acts get a teleprompter, right?
Yeah, totally, right?
Yeah, I went and saw Rod Stewart in concert. Like, I'm sure he's got big fun at this point, but like he's still crushing the game. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, dude. Our drummer Nate says Paul McCartney was the best live show he's ever seen in his life, and that guy's like, he's got to be like pushing 80 at this point, right?
Yeah, I think he's 82. I would agree with that. Paul McCartney was the best live show I've ever seen. It's just like 3 hours, almost nonstop, nothing but hits. He plays a ton of different instruments, but like the band, honest to God, plays these tracks. It's like huge orchestrations, and it's just 5 weirdos who make it happen. And that's my favorite thing. It's like,
it's badass, dude. And that's like being in a band and like especially traveling a lot like we do, and you see a lot of other bands. You play with a lot of other musicians from all over, and you see a lot of subpar music. Because we're both out in our career. Like, we felt like we had our stuff locked in enough to hit the road, but a lot of these local bands that we're playing with, and no offense to any local bands that we've ever played with, but like some of them are still locking stuff in and figuring it out, and sometimes that equals like not as great, but every once in a while, you link up with this band that you've never heard before, and they're just crushing it. And you're like, dude, this is incredible.
yeah,
Which
set
actually,
your world on fire.
Yeah, which I want to say, I'm not getting paid to say this at all, but we were just at Sunny Days Music Festival. Do you know Andy Frasco and the UN? Have you ever heard of that band?
No.
Andy Frasco and the UN. Insane. Top 5 live shows I've ever seen in my entire life. Just this past Saturday. I mean, like, these guys, I don't even know how to describe their music. It's just like happy party, like blues rock, I guess you could say. But like, these guys are wild. Stage performance incredible. Like, they're all just like, none of them take themselves too seriously. They're jumping around, they're cracking jokes, they're so animated. At one point, he like passed a bottle of Jameson out into the middle of the crowd, and he's like, I'm gonna crowd surf out there, chug the Jameson, and then you guys are gonna take me back on stage, just like these wild antics, but backed up by like pristine musicianship. I mean, like, their lead player was shredding, his voice is spectacular. Like, we were all standing there just like kind of shock and awe. We're just like, dude, what? And they kept it going, like for an hour and a half, I think was their set time. It was just like nonstop bangers, nonstop party. Dude, you need to check them out. Andy Frasco and the UN.
That's rad.
And they're out there doing it. Like, they've been on tour with like Humphreys McGee and shit like that. So they're out there hustling for sure. But
Yeah, you were probably around Humphreys at a point in time where they were a lot less popular, right? Like in the jam world, like they were. Did you ever share a festival lineup with them or anything?
no, not Humphreys. I think they were just like a little before our time. I mean, I think
Gotcha.
all those guys are probably like in their 40s or
What
something.
about the guys from Goose that are taking off? They're Ohio guys, right?
I don't know.
I think so. Man, one of the best live shows I've ever seen that involved crowd surfing was St. Paul and the Broken Bones at Bonnaroo. And this guy used to be an accountant, and his band starts taking off, so he quits that shit. Or maybe he was working at a bank or something like that. But he comes out wearing like ballin' ass suits. He's like this short, fat dude with a whole lot of attitude and a great voice. And he's from Georgia. So he comes out and he's wearing like, I had seen him once before in concert. He wears like this. There's a robe on the way on. He drops the robe. He's looking fly as fuck. And he's like, I'm gonna take my magic carpet out to the middle of the mix desk. He's like, make sure we got a long enough cable for that. So someone comes and hooks him up, and he rides this carpet all the way out, and then he's just ripping it out there. And then he goes, no carpet on the way back. And by this point, I push my way to the middle so I can get in on the action. This guy comes right over my head, and I finally get to hold something up, and I end up taking the heel off of his shoe.
Oh,
It's like, I reach up and I grabbed his foot, and the heel, like the whole sole, just comes off my hand. And I was like, ooh, not a good look. Yeah, so I just put it on the ground. I was like, that's my bad, bro.
Just limping for the rest of the show. Like,
I don't know what he did, man. I felt terrible about it. I thought about losing a shoe during a show like that. I was like, that sucks.
you should have threw it on stage. Only appropriate time to throw a shoe at the musician.
Well, we went and saw, do you know Reggie Watts?
Who is that?
Reggie
Is that a
Watts,
comedian?
He's kind of like a comedian. He's a great looper. He did the music for the James Corden show for a little while.
Okay.
And he's like improvs the show. He's gnarly. So me and my boy Jordan went to see his show that same weekend at Bonnaroo. And at the end of his set, like, people always throwing shit on stage. Like, someone threw him a joint, and he addressed it on the mic. And he's like, he threw this, but no one threw me a lighter. And so my boy Jordan, like, quicker than I've ever seen someone wield a lighter, takes it and bombs this thing from the back of the crowd. And I swear, like, one bounce, and it landed at his foot. And he starts yelling, "Spark it, Reggie!" And the whole crowd gets behind it. And then Reggie burned this J, and it was hilarious to watch.
You're
but
just
since
like,
then,
I did that.
yeah, since then, my buddy Jordan, who goes by Sony Grappone, it's been Spark It Sony, and it's quite gnarly.
That's so good.
Geeks me out, man. You ever crowd surfed?
Not as an artist, but plenty of times as a patron, for sure.
What show was the most memorable?
You know, this is actually a little embarrassing because I have crowd surfed at so many awesome metal shows, and it's been so fun. And honestly, most of the time at metal shows, you know, we were younger, we were in high school, so we weren't drinking or anything. We were just there, you know, elbow people for 3 hours. And, you know, if you wanted to get out of the middle of the pit, it was so hard to like walk to the back of the venue. So most of the time we'd crowd surf our way out. Because, you know, they take you to the front of the stage, they dump you into the security guard, and then you could walk peacefully around the outside of the barricade. So you could
Holy
just
shit.
walk and go get water. So most of the time, we'd crowd surf out all the time. But anyway, this one time, I was at a show. Dude, it was a venue in Covington, Mad Hatter. Do you remember that? It's not
I
around
never went
anymore.
to Mad Hatter, but I've always heard great things about the room.
It was, yeah, you know, it was like, but we were there, me and my buddy Vic, who was actually the original bass player of Rockstead. He had bought his sister tickets to see this band called The Maine.
Cool.
I don't know
I've
if
heard of
you-
them. Yeah.
So yeah, it was just like, but it was very like girly, like emo, pop punk kind of vibes. We weren't even that into him, but he had bought his sister tickets, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to go? Because like I would really like to have a buddy with me at this show, so it's not like terrible." Which they actually wanted. They did great.
Yeah.
It's just not our style of music, and it's all very slow, sad, like, you know, kind of Cry Me a River songs. But
Not JT Cry Me a River. Emo Cry Me a River.
emo
Yeah.
Cry Me a River. But anyway, it was a very chill show because of the type of music that they played. And at one point, I was like, dude, somebody's got to like do something, because they were still part of the emo scene, and we're so used to being at these like heavy mosh shows. And I talked to these people around me. I was like, hey, I'm going to crowd surf. Like, will you take me up there? Like, will you help me? They're like, yeah, let's get you up there. So I wound up crowd surfing, the only person to do any of like thing like that the whole show. But I'm like 17, 18 at this point. I'm like, yeah, crowd surfing. So anyway, I'm crowd surfing. I get all the way up the stage, and they throw me on stage. I like stumble on stage, and the band's playing, and I'm looking around like, oh shit, like the lead singer's like, hey, like while he's singing a song, and I just like fist bump him, and he fist bumps me, and I walk off the stage, and I was like, great, like that was cool. Anyway, the show ends, and I realized I don't have my phone. Like, I had lost my phone in this crowd surfing experience, and I was like, damn, and like late high school, your phone is important.
Yeah.
You're like, I need that, it's a very important thing. So anyway, we had to wait for everyone to clear out, and it was actually crazy. We're looking all over the place, and it wound up being in between the barricade and the stage, like in this tiny little crack. And we found it, dude. And we're just like, no way, we got it.
Thank God you're sober high school kids and not like a drunk adult. Like, dude, look at my...
Yeah, exactly. I would have been like, I forgot about the microphone.
Dude, that's iconic, though, where it's like, you think about some of these bands where they're heavy, but it's not that kind of heavy. And then, like, just a high school dude that doesn't give a fuck is like, no, I'm crowd surfing. Let's start this pit right now. Yeah. Send me up, Scotty. Beat me up.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of pits, this past weekend, we had our first mosh pit ever at a Rockstead show, which was dope. Because that song we were talking about earlier, Last Straw with the Quasi Kings, excuse me, at the end of the song, we do this huge metal breakdown, which is, I think, it's badass because I've never heard a metal breakdown in any reggae-esque song ever. But, we back when Victor was in the band early days, we'd play certain songs, and sometimes he'd yell out, "Reggae mosh!" just as like a joke, just to see if people would do it. Never happened, ever. But this past weekend at JD Legends, people knew it was coming because they knew the song. And,
yeah.
And the guy told me before the show, he came up to me, he's like, just so you know, I'm going to start a mosh pit tonight during that song. Like, you better be ready. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. And
is this like a buddy?
By God, he did it. I did know him. Man, I feel bad because he's probably going to watch this. I can't remember his name.
Oh, no, you gave him the shout out. He gets the love. It's all good.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he goes by Thor, but he looks like Thor. Like, he's like muscular, long blonde hair, like definitely the guy who would start the mosh pit. But
awesome.
I met him a handful of times.
Did you yell for reggae mosh right before that?
I didn't yell for reggae mosh, but it definitely happened. He did it because he came to JD Legends and the Madison Live show, and it happened both times, dude. It was great.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was so good.
You have to bring it back. You have to bring back reggae mosh. Like, that's honestly awesome.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's a T-shirt right there.
That's a great T-shirt.
Reggae mosh.
Dude.
Oh, man.
We'll wait to put this episode up so you can get printed.
Copyright.
TM.
Trademark.
It's not how it works, but you can always shout TM and voice a concern. You know?
Yeah. What is the date? If you steal my idea, I'll find you.
I'll find you. Well, brother, is there anything you want to promote on the way out?
Just more shows, man.
This will probably be out in like a month if you want to.
Okay, a month from now. Not in particular, dude. We're going to be getting into the studio later this summer, working on some new tracks. We got some fun feature artists in mind that I'm not going to tell you yet.
Okay. Suspense.
But yeah, dude, I mean, our drummer's going to be having a baby with his wife in July.
Congrats,
Nate.
Nate.
Shout out Nate and Lacey.
We love you and your fertility.
It's
Congrats.
exciting. I'm going to make him do a Simba thing. I want him to do that so bad at some point.
And then you got to make that daddy do a keg stand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me know when's a good time. If you're in town, I want to give him a shotgun. Just like a fresh daddy shotgun.
Yes.
Get him a Colt 45 big can. Can you do that? Can you get Colt 45 in a can?
I don't know. I hope so.
Yes.
I heard yes from the other room.
Hey, and you're a dirty dude. You're a dirty dude. Only in Clifton. Only at the good old stab and grab, you know?
Well, hell yeah. But yeah, be prepared for new music at the end of the year, and that's the plan right now, and more shows.
Dig it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jake Burns, one of my favorite Cincinnati artists. Even if you're an Asheville guy now, we're going to claim you, regardless if you like it or not. Love you, brother. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Peace, players.